Hey, welcome to Combat Vet Vision. This is a show for our combat vets, our veterans, our sponsors, supporters, volunteers, first responders to tell their story and to talk about transitioning, talk about what they're doing to keep themselves motivated today, and even helping others out as we go through our deal. Hey, I got a couple really cool guests on today. I got Josh White and Ram, and both these guys are extraordinary guys. We got QRFup.org that they're part of. Josh White, racing Hall of Famer. He's going to talk about all his stuff. So welcome to the show, guys. Chef JB's not on deck today. Just to let everybody know, he's flying up northern America. So he'll be back with us next week. But hey, thanks a lot, guys, for being on the show. Thanks for being here.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah,
we're excited.
Hey, we're going to go through this with one of you guys talking at a time, telling your story. And Ram, I think we'll start with you and get into your story and why you're doing QRFup.org and why that's such a powerful thing. And that's a powerful thing because it brings so much attention to so many different nonprofit orgs. It also is a rescue line to our veterans that are suffering from, the unseen wounds of war and immediate response to that in such a cool way. So, Ram, go ahead, brother.
Yeah, man, to start off with, thank you for having us. But, two, Semper Fi, brother, you're one of us always, and we love you, Doc. But two, we just, my start was as a Marine, a young Marine. I knew I always wanted to be a Marine. My father was a Marine. When I went in straight out of high school, didn't think of college, didn't think of anything. It was my life was going to be being a Marine. Unfortunately, was injured in Iraq. So my first deployment was to Ramadi, Combat Outpost, 2004. Heavy casualties, a lot of combat experience there. Transitioning out of that in around 2006 to 2007, because I was injured, was not easy. I went straight from there and I said, I don't feel like my service is done. So I went straight to the Army. I re-enlisted into the Army before I was discharged and transitioned over, and was able to do that. So went straight from Marine Corps into the Army and did some more time there. Did another, I want to say about 11 years of the Army. And
hey, wait, real quick. I want to know, how did you get discharged from the Marine Corps as because you were injured, they medically discharged you?
No, so they wanted to discharge us, but they were giving us an option to look through our paperwork. Our command was amazing. They really did support us. Everybody had some sort of combat injury in our unit. 2-4. We had probably, I want to say, 90% of our Marines had Purple Hearts at the time, and so everybody at least had one or two, to be honest with you. And as we were getting out, guys were given the option to get medically discharged or try to continue and get healed to stay in. So they were really supportive. I decided I didn't want to get discharged. I want to be able to go into the military and a different route. So I went down to Oceanside, California. I found a recruiter. And he was like, "Oh, I'm in an airplane tomorrow." And then I got to go to basic training and do the Army side. But the Army wasn't. The Army was beautiful as far as transitioning as a Marine to the Army was just, I don't know, it was easier. They treated you like an adult. The Marine Corps, I felt like I was definitely on a leash all the time, and if I wanted to let go, it was only when we deploy and just do that. But there was, it was a real career, and I had an opportunity to do different things. I learned HR. I learned a lot of different medical field stuff. I learned how to run essentially a company and a business at the same time as I was in the military. Plus, I was able to do schooling at the same time. So I went through, first started off online and did school. So my plan was always very methodical to take this as a career, very serious, so that when I transitioned, I had some sort of plan. Coming from a military background with my father was a Vietnam veteran, served, and also my brother served in the Navy, my sister served in the Air Force. My family all served and they all retired from the military. So it was one of those things where I kind of already knew the transition was going to be difficult. So as I got out, I had every job you could think of. I was a firefighter, I was a police officer, I worked with the federal world, and it just didn't stick. It just didn't feel the same type of service, right? It just didn't feel right for me. essentially I started this nonprofit. And when I did this, it was because we were losing brothers left and right. It wasn't 22 a day like everybody likes to think. It was closer to 40 to 50 just every day we were losing somebody, and I would hear about another person. And it was my friend Peter Flom who said, "Man, I wish there was a button we could push and we could just get somebody to help us." And Peter, man, he's an amazing Marine, right? And he's still very, very intricate part of what we're doing. Like he said, we should hit a button and all our brothers can hear what's happening to us. And I took that concept and I put it into therapy work, right? I said, there should be a professional also involved. So when the button gets activated, a therapist gets involved, and then a peer can come out to you and help you as well. And that's how the whole app started. It was just that process of, even if we're in the middle of nowhere, Webster, South Dakota, and you don't have a therapist or anything, you hit that button, somebody will jump on. And I'm proud to say that from there to now, we just connected with another organization called Project 24/7. Michelle Cleveland, amazing human being, started her application because she also went through this, loss of her children that served, but also, experiencing this as a mother. She created an even more amazing application than what we were doing. And I said, let's partner up and blend it together. That's what we're doing now. So now we're going to be able to reach more people on a higher scale. So we just became more powerful. It comes out September 11th at the track when we're going to be with Josh. We're going to come out with a bunch of different things, but that's my story. I can't wait for you guys to meet Josh.
Hey, talking about, I know we threw Josh under the bus about talking about his Hall of Fame stuff, but you didn't even bring up QRF.org once yet. That's your organization.
Yeah. So
you talked about Josh, you talked about the other org. So talk about QRFup, started in Minnesota, if I'm not mistaken.
Minnesota, yep.
And you guys had the ability to meet anybody's needs within 90 minutes, anywhere within Minnesota at the beginning.
Yep.
And about 3 or 4 years ago, you guys came online nationally.
Correct.
And obviously looking for volunteers, obviously looking for veteran volunteers to the therapists that can answer the call when someone really needs. Yep. And we talked a little bit earlier too about the problem with veterans. We think that we can only use this thing one time. It's one and done. Throw that thing away. Yeah. Because we feel so obligated to what have we done to fix ourselves after needing such an incredible life-saving tool that we feel disappointed in ourselves to have to press that thing more than once. But you've told me already, you can press that thing 17 times a day, 24 hours a day, whatever it might need.
All day long.
And please push this button. And I know how we as military guys are. Just talk about some of those things that I brought up, brother.
Yeah. The amazing growth that we've had since then is just undeniably surprising to one as Marines. And Josh and I talk about this frequently, like just how much we have been able to expand into things, right? So if you hit that button and you need a resource, right? Anything you can think of, we can get you to an education course. We can get you to employment. We can get you and your family together because we help the whole family, not just a veteran or first responder. We can get you any type of resource you can think of under the sun is at our disposal at this point. And that means, man, shoes. Say your kid needs, cleats. We'll talk to one of our partners. They'll send it out to us, and then we get your cleats, right? And that's a combined effort by all these organizations that we put under one household, where we're a conduit to nonprofits, right? We do a lot of amazing things, but we're sincerely a conduit to reach, like I said, Project 24/7, the VOB network, Warriors to Racers, Warrior Built, all of these organizations that are doing so much amazing stuff, but because there's not enough notoriety behind it, or people are just looking at the bigger orgs, they don't understand that there's something in your network and just in your state that we can push a button and say, hey, I need you right now. They're down the road from you. Come out and help them. And we can do that, right? We can get them to that type of support system. And that's essentially where we are, military all the time, right?
Yeah, that is incredible. And, it's not just the emergency, hey, I need help. Like you said, it's like, hey, I can, the conduit to other organizations, please, take a look at it. Follow them on Instagram, follow them on Facebook to see the stuff that QRF always is putting some really cool stuff out there. And an org might show up in your eyes and you'd be like, what is this? And we going into some other programs, talk about those real quick. What are the programs, and do people have to hit the emergency button, or should they call to get to that?
You don't have to be in crisis to hit our button, or just even to get our resources, right? So you can go on our website. There is applications on there so we just picked up a ranch where you can become a guide, an outdoor guide, right? And everything is paid for through VRE, Veterans Ready to Employ. It's in Colorado. It's called COAGS. That's one of our programs. Josh and I and Ed McLean put together an education program called Laps of Honor and Heroes. Laps of Honor. And the way we do that is ASC certified guys are going to get on the track and be able to be mechanics, fabricators. And Josh will get more into this. I get excited because Josh doesn't like talking about it, but I'm going to make a title out of it today. But it's so many different things, driving. And we do have a race coming up where Josh is going to drive, and we're going to be his pit crew, all veterans that are going to get to pit for him at Arkham Menard Series in Salem, Indiana or Indianapolis?
Indiana.
So I'm excited for that. It's first time being able to do that and just supporting him. But that's just two of the things, right? We have equine therapy, spousal support, we do art therapy for children, music therapy for children. There's just so many things, business development. I can't even tell you because my head's just like, you're forgetting a bunch of them, but there's just so many programs. Go on our website. Like I said, it's completely free for you guys. Just support each other, because that's what we do. We support one another. We support every nonprofit that you see on our website is somebody that we will always be there for it, and we know that they are doing the best for one of our brothers or sisters.
Well, hey, thanks for that brief, Ram. I know we're going to get back into this a little bit more. I'm going to have Josh tell his story, and then we'll combine some of the stuff that we've been talking about. Hey, Josh, start from the beginning, brother. What made you join the Marine Corps, and how did that plan go, and then your transition and the Hall of Fame story?
So, man, I was 17 years old, and I was living in Charleston, West Virginia. And, being that young, I'm getting ready to graduate high school. I had a baby on the way. She was due any moment. I went and walked the stage for high school graduation, and she went into labor. 3 days later, I had my daughter, Isabella. Now, I don't know about you and, where you were at 18 years old, but, trying to get any job you can and trying to support a family at that age was really, really hard and next to impossible. I mean, it's just the entry-level job, no job history or anything you can imagine. So I eventually just had the bright idea, man. Like, I love my country. Like, what if I serve my country and I'm being able to, provide for my family at the same time? So that's what I did. I just joined up with the Marine Corps 2 months to the exact date my daughter was born. And from then it was game on. I went to boot camp and graduated, and man, it was a journey. My Marine Corps career. I was a combat engineer. I was with 4th Combat Engineer Battalion, Alpha Company. And in 2011, they deployed to Afghanistan. I had a partial mobilization, got hurt, unfortunately, but at least nobody got hurt on that deployment. Aside from injury, nobody got killed or anything, so that was good. But beyond that, I just continued racing, man. Like, there's been something just about racing that just calms me down and gives me peace. And moving forward, I got out of the Marine Corps in 2015, and by that point I was already in the Arkham Menard series. And 2015, I finished 12th in championship points in the Arkham Menard series. 2016, I made a NASCAR Truck Series start at Martinsville. 2022, I raced at Charlotte Motor Speedway. Didn't do very good, but that's another story for another time. A few years down the road, last year, 2025, I had an epiphany, man. I was like, man, what if I'm able to use my platform to help other veterans? And I'm just, I've got 20, 30,000 fans, like all this engagement, all this social media at my disposal. Like, how can I really make an impact? And so that's what I did. I started the Laps of Honor program. The Laps of Honor program Rameses was talking about is actually called the Veterans Motorsport Training Center. But the Laps of Honor program, so names get submitted to me of the fallen, whether it be MIA, KIA, victims of veteran suicide, all these different things. And in the Laps of Honor program, we take those names and we put them on a social media flyer and share them around to bring awareness to the cause that we're trying to raise awareness for, but also to keep the fallen's name alive and keep them going. And we also now put that on the Wall of Honor on my website. If they're a Laps of Honor recipient, they permanently get on my website on the Wall of Honor forever. And then in addition to that, we've been doing this year, we've been taking Gold Star families with us to the races. They just come to the racetrack. We pay for their pit passes, and they're able to write the name of their fallen and their names directly on my race card. And so it's been this huge journey of advocacy for others. And last year, we honored over 300 veterans. Definitely made an impact. I've got a bunch of letters and shirts and obituaries and all kinds of stuff. Like the stories you hear from Gold Star families just really, it set a fire underneath me to continue doing what I'm doing. Very obviously this is I'm doing something. I'm out here changing lives. And so I had the idea of, well, I can go a step further. I want to create my own race team, but how cool would it be to be able to go a step further and actually train veterans in something that they want to do, something that they enjoy? And that's how the Veterans Motorsport Training Center was formed. It was in partnership with Warriors to Racers. Originally, my team was to be the only, or at that time was the only oval track racing team in their program. So then the VMTC was started. And this year, I've actually got in the Motorsports Hall of Fame of America. I'm the first Marine to race NASCAR since 1966, but which makes me the second ever. But I'm also the first service-connected or service-disabled Marine Corps veteran to race in NASCAR history. So going forward, the future is bright. And Josh White Racing is steadily climbing.
Yeah.
No, that's awesome. And talk a little bit about how veterans get involved with the racing piece. And obviously you have a pretty cool program. Whether you want to be part of the pit crew, this is always an option with the Warrior Built Foundation and how they race and do things. But to get veterans involved, where does that start and how does that look?
So there's multiple avenues of approach. There's not one specific answer for that because we all have an open door policy. I know Ram has one, I do, and I know all of our partners do. So you could go to any of our pages and be like, hey, how can I get involved? You can search Josh White Racing. You can search me on Facebook, Josh White. I have a blue check mark beside my name. You see me in a racing helmet. Send me a message. If you want to email me, go to my website, contact me there. We'll get you in there. We'll help you out, and we're gonna have a fun time.
No, that's good. And Ram was talking to me about this program. He said that there's like 10 slots. I know you want to have about 10 veteran racers on top of full crews of pit crew racers on top of that. talk a little bit about that program and how did that get started so well, and where does that go, and whatnot.
Well, it was really interesting how it all got started, because I started talking to Ed McLean about this idea that I had. I already partnered with them and became, their oval track racing team for Warriors to Racers. But then, I told him, hey, like, I've got this facility, and me and my partners, here at the shop, Buddy Brogan, between me and him both, we've just got tons of knowledge that we can pass on to these people, and we can help veterans serve beyond the uniform, that we can help them find their mission. And I feel like, at least for me, it was tough transitioning from the mindset of where I was at in the military to civilian world and trying to find a different mission. So, like, to be able to kind of help connect the dots for somebody else, I think that is really cool. Like, that's what I look forward to, is watching another veteran grow, and to see where they go with it, and from the conversation of where I was just pitching Ed my idea, it just kind of took off, because then Ram got involved, and then how many other organizations got involved with this, Ram?
We're at 10 organizations being involved now. And that's when we talk about this. It's any of them. We have the Veterans Trust Network, where if you are having a hard time with the education program, you can go be with them and they'll give you a race camp, kind of reassessing you. They have these amazing simulators that really figure out how to regulate your body while you're on racing, and just in the civilian world, right? So we're doing a lot of partnership with them. We have financial advisors with Victory X Financial. They'll help you with financial stability, so you can get the courses and you're not worrying about what the finances look like at home. If you decide that maybe mechanic work isn't your field, or fabrication, or pitting, or any of these things aren't for you, and you want other employment, we have the Veteran Hiring Solution organization that will get you employment with all sorts of different companies, and he has a network of organizations that are 500 Fortune 500 companies and above. So it's not. We're trying to step away from, when you transition out, what do we always get? Security jobs, retail jobs, those things. That's not what our brothers and sisters need, or they don't deserve that, right? We've ran millions of dollars. I know Josh himself, just in the gear he carried, it was at least $50,000 worth of stuff, or even more with the the Centex and other stuff that he carried, just in that stuff alone, right? If we are capable of
Definitely
maintaining these things that are in our bodies all the time, carrying our weapons and all the systems that we have knowledge over, why can't my brother or sister come right out of the military into an occupation that's going to make them thrive in longevity, right? Why am I going to keep them down again? So that's what we're trying to change, and that's the biggest thing that Josh is really a huge component about is we want to get our brothers and sisters to thrive, not survive. You got to thrive, right? That's the biggest thing.
Definitely. You guys have talked about a couple of things that are on my mind. One, Josh said, what is my mission, right? We always talk about the mission, but the missions always require not just yourself. Usually we want to carry out this mission with our brothers and sisters, right, in some sort of cool way. And the other piece is combining nonprofit capabilities with business capabilities, right? Providing the jobs that are passionate enough for our veterans. Talk a little bit about what that means to you guys. And, it's such an important part of what I do too. And I'm always looking at it, and I love what you guys are doing with it. So I just would like for you guys to give a little bit of focus on that.
Yeah. So, like, for me, the way I look at it, whenever you leave service, you don't just lose purpose, you lose camaraderie. And when you're with a team like us, that's what Josh White Racing is. We are a professional race team, but we have this training stuff going on too, on all this different things that we're doing, but we're still a team. Being a part of team brings that camaraderie back. You'd mentioned security and retail. That's not really for them. You're right. They need to find somebody somewhere where they can have camaraderie again and have purpose. We're mission driven people. For Josh White Racing, there's the next race, and hey, we need to make up championship points at this race. How can we be better? There's always a goal, and with that, veterans are really goal oriented, and they thrive when they're a part of a team. Often when they're alone, granted, there's veterans out there that do well alone, but oftentimes when you're alone, that leaves you with time to think, and you don't have that camaraderie, and you just get bored.
Right. And even when you're with the team, you can still isolate and be alone if you're that kind of guy, because there's opportunities that allow you to do it, but in a stimulated way and in a positive direction. And that's something that I really love about this kind of stuff. And I know, because I'm, been in the racing industry for a while and doing that too. And it's just such an incredible feeling to be part of the pit crew. When the car comes in and you're checking it out, and your mind is on the mission of like, what am I going to do to make sure this thing's ready to rock and roll again? And it's going to take off in just a couple seconds. So we got to do what we got to do right here. And then boom, it's on. You're like in the fight, you're in the fire, and you're as close to the edge of that as you can be without being in combat. So it's a very similar type feeling that's very stimulating and great. And at the same time, you're accomplishing something that's amazing. And I know, Josh, you had a car recently that the engine is kaput. You have to do some stuff to it. You want to talk about that real quick?
Yeah, that was definitely that hurt. that sucked. But we're moving forward, man. No matter what, no matter who you are, no matter what you've accomplished, what you've done, you're going to have setbacks. You're going to make mistakes, and that's okay. Nothing ever came out of, you know what I mean? Like, Rome wasn't built in a day. It takes persistence. It takes patience, but it takes hard work. And us as a team, that's exactly what we're doing. And I'm definitely excited. I'm going to be working on the ARCA car here within the next week. I'm definitely excited to see how it shapes up.
No, that's awesome. And the reason I brought that up is because, you're going to have those setbacks, right?
Yep.
But that creates a new avenue of adventure, because now you have to figure out how to put this engine back together. Now you got to figure out all these things. It's a pain in the ass, but it's still, at the end of the day, when you look back at it, you're like, I'm glad I had that experience, because eventually everyone's going to have that experience. Because and you hear this term all the time. That's racing.
Yeah.
To roll the tires into the race, and something happens catastrophically, and you're like, oh man, and then you come back to it, you're like, that's racing.
Another thing that people don't really think about, especially in the racing that we do, even entry, like at this point, even entry level racing all the way to the top levels, it's specialized. Like it's not like the cars that you're driving on the street. You just can't go to O'Reilly Auto Parts or AutoZone and be like, hey, I want this, and it's going to work. These cars are purpose built, made specifically for what they are doing. So yeah, it's good to have the experience, but at the same time, very expensive.
Yeah, very expensive. And that's why Warrior Build started off with the Class 11 Bug, which is a lot cheaper, but still very expensive. I mean, it's just every piece is.
It doesn't matter what you do. If it involves the word racing, get ready to spend some money.
That's so true. But hey, that's the important part about it. And that's what's cool about America, the sponsorships, right? The sponsorships that come into play, that want to see you succeed, believe in you as an American that served our country, and give you the benefit of the doubt on a whole different level sometimes. And talk about why the sponsors are so important, and why it's really cool to see that American industry care about us without all of our veterans even being able to see that sometimes.
Absolutely. So, I have a lot of sponsors, a lot of support. I could definitely use more, especially on the ARCA side of things. We have sponsorships available, but without sponsors, we can't do anything. I mean, just my sport modified on dirt cost $45,000 just to build it. And I already had the motor. Okay. If I didn't have the motor, that thing would have cost like 60 grand. So, the average person, $50,000-$60,000 a year, that's what they make. I mean, you've got to have sponsors. And with that, I couldn't be more thankful for the support that I have. And it's definitely amazing to see them support it in the manner that you were just talking about. And there's a lot as a veteran that we see that other people don't. There's a lot of organizations out there that support us, and we're definitely grateful.
Definitely. And one thing I want to say to the veteran community out there is, like, as much as it is cool for us to come on here and talk about these things, there's a lot of experience behind each piece. I mean, we didn't just get out and Josh didn't just pop into the racing chair. I mean, he was racing obviously while I was still in the Marine Corps, and Ram had all these thoughts too. And QRF, like I said, was built in Minnesota, and it was there for many years before it even took off nationally. And then putting all these things together, it's not like, if you're a veteran wanting to do this kind of stuff, it's not like something you want to just jump into and full forge try to think you're going to make it happen. No, you start with going into these organizations, seeing what they have to offer, and maybe even getting something from them, and feeling that joy of, like, seeing the support that these organizations bring to you, and then moving forward with, well, maybe I should volunteer. And you volunteer at the bottom, and you just show up. You got to show up. You can't just be like, hey, I want to be this guy because I have this experience. So that's fine, but you still got to prove yourself from the bottom up most of the time. Unless you're like a specialty engine builder or this and that, then you get to put your hands on the machines. But it really takes that dedicated, hey, I'm going to be here day in and day out doing what I do, and making those phone calls, having these intrusive thought conversations, especially when it comes to PTSD. And Josh was talking about something like 3,000 different names going across the race, but I think you take 22 per lap, right? Or is it 22 names per race kind of thing?
So on the dirt side of the house, we do 22 names a race. I have a list compiled together now. We're putting together this weekend's Laps of Honor flyer. So yes, it's 22 veterans, 22 laps each race when we race on dirt. Now, when we go to race Arkham Nard Series at Salem, it's a 200 lap race. So that means 200 veterans.
Wow. That's incredible. That's amazing. I mean, and there's plenty of veterans that unfortunately their names are going to go on these cars. It would fill the entire car, multiple cars. I mean, the amount that we've lost. I've seen it. I've seen cars with them. Just incredible things, but super sad. And, we're still here. We're still wanting that camaraderie for you veterans that are dealing with a lot of stuff. Get a hold of me, get a hold of Ram, get a hold of Josh, talk about where you can get that support and navigate some of these things. Ram, go ahead and add some fillers in that.
Yeah. Well, to that, guys, just, one of the things that I always like to tell people, because these are things that really keep guys from reaching out. We do not care about your discharge. We do not care how long you served, as long as you have a DD-214. But when we say that, it's just an OTH, dishonorable, because we're learning that PTSD wasn't treated the right way as you guys were transitioning out, right? So please reach out, even if it's something that the VA can't help. We have organizations that can help. We're here to help you out at any point in time. You can either go online and hit us up on our website, Josh White Racing as well, veterans to warriors.org, the veterantrust.org, PTSDunplugged.com. I could keep going. We have over 250 organizations that are combined underneath us that you can hit on there, and they will reach out to us and get you connected. Everything is free. There is no charge for anything. Everything is free.
Seriously, don't hesitate to reach out. Even before the Laps of Honor program, the VMTC, and all of this was happening, I've always had an open door policy, to veterans, messaging me. And, I've always offered, advice for people that wanted to get into NASCAR, and maybe whatever step in the direction they want to go, whether it be dirt racing, if they want to go NASCAR racing, whatever. I've always been there to help them, guide them in the right direction. So don't hesitate, reach out.
No, that's good stuff. And I just want to give you guys one last, any final words that you guys want to put out there, please do. And if someone wants to get a hold of you, again, and always, you guys could get a hold of them through me. But if not, they're going to give you some information. Go ahead and pump that out as well, guys.
I'll say this, nothing you could ever do would ever keep me from helping you at 3, 4 in the morning. If you go to QRFup.org, our phone number is on there. It is an actual number that goes to somebody. It doesn't go to a machine. It doesn't go to a 1-800 number. It goes to physical human beings. That is very, very purposeful, because we don't want you to think you're going to press 1 for anything. You're going to it's going to ring and it's going to get picked up by somebody. Not only that, but the website, if you don't feel it's an emergency, you're always welcome to email us on info@qrfup.org, and you can get information from us. We also have an events page where you can meet us in person. I'm at every event. We'll be having an event this weekend at Cedar Falls. It's a 3-day event where we're going to be talking about what Josh is going to be doing this next year, because we're going to be pushing him hard. He doesn't like to talk about himself, but he's an amazing brother. I'm so happy that, as a Marine, he gives me pride every day that he's on the track. But you'll get to see him, you'll get to see me, and so many other organizations. So please reach out. Don't hesitate.
You can always find me at joshwhiteracing.com. Facebook, I'm big on Facebook, but I'm about on every platform. So yeah, search Josh White on Facebook, Josh White Racing, and then you can find me at Fighting Marine on Instagram and Twitter and TikTok. So yeah.
Hey, thanks a lot. You can also see them in the show notes down below, or wherever the show notes are, and all their links are there as well as mine. But guys, hey, thanks a lot for being on the show. Way incredible. I love you guys, and it's great to have the camaraderie with you guys right here, right now. And I hope our audience really enjoys the discussions we've had, and the opportunities to kind of reach out and still be part of something that's really incredible.
Definitely. Thank you for having me.
Thank you. Thanks so much. Have a good day.
You too. Hey, it's always incredible when you have some amazing nonprofit boards out there and businesses, and the mixture of them for this country runs deep in blood that was lost. And this country has opportunities because it allows you to go out and earn a living. It allows you to just enjoy life on your own desires, but it also you can also not take advantage of it. You can also find yourself lost in the sauce, really needing some help. And it is okay to need help. And like talking to Ram this week and just finding out that veterans only want to push that button one time, and then they're like, hey, I don't believe in myself, and I don't think anybody else should either. That's not the way to go. Understand that button's coming back live. They're gonna have the app up and running September 11th. So keep that in mind, and just be ready to push that button more than once. And same with the PTSD Foundation of America. You can call that line, the line there for emergency purposes, dealing with PTSD and falling yourself out of control as much as you'd like, as much as you need to. There's all kinds of organizations putting together some really good stuff, but it's great to be part of those. As for anything that's going on this week, I'm hoping to get Chef back next week. He might not be back, but as for me, I'm gearing up to head to Southern California at the end of the month. I have my warrior groups through the PTSD Foundation of America, Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday. Tonight is Tuesday. It's always Tuesday at 7:30 Southern California time. If you need a warrior group, if you want to be involved in a warrior group through the PTSD Foundation of America, hit me up, or any other organization. I have a couple guys. Warrenville started a group. There's another guy out of South Dakota that started a group, and a whole bunch of other opportunities to check into some of these places that can help you out with your PTSD. There's organizations that are putting on some really good retreats. I would just say, check into those. Just so many incredible things. But hey, I'm going to bring Brian on, Brian Colburn, my producer, and he does feed drops. This is sitchradio.com that's bringing this to you right out of here from, we're sitting right here in the VTRC, the Veterans Transition Resource Center. Thanks to their help and support. And I got to thank all my guys, the Warrior Bill Foundation, Recon Chief Incorporated, and oh yeah, my podcast, Combat Vet Vision, and Brian for making it happen. Brian, how's it going?
Things are well, Chief. How you doing, man?
Good. Hey, this is a great part, feed drops, and that just to give you the feedback on some of that is Brian did a podcast, and it's 5 minutes. He does this 5-minute drop on, checking these things out, making sure the podcast is a really good podcast and rating it in a certain way. Now, most of these are really shined up, pre-recorded, everything. This is coming at you live, so it's not as shiny, not as pretty, but it can be. So go ahead, Brian, feed drop it.
Not many people have skin thick enough to handle a live critique, and I'm glad you do. And one of the reasons we do this is if you're a podcaster, some of this feedback, you might go, oh, that could apply to me as well, and you'll be able to improve your show. So thanks for having me on and doing this. Dude, great story, great guys. Love the fact that myself included, there are 3 Marines involved in this episode. And thanks, Doc, for bringing us all together and handing out Motrin when needed.
That's right. And socks, right. Clean socks.
Get those clean socks. Drink some water. Dude, again, I would really love for you to develop the story you want told in your head and ask questions throughout the episode to pull that story out. And I know it takes some time. You've got to pre-interview. You really have to do a deep dive into, you have to identify what the important parts of their story are for your audience, because you know what your audience responds to. And that story has to be developed, and eventually we're going to get there. And maybe it's, we start with one episode, maybe, for example, the Nick Ham interview. Nick, the story, you helped build Warrior Bill. What questions to ask that are really going to resonate with your audience. That may be a good episode to really get into a Q&A rather than, tell me your story type of episode. And the tell me your story types of episodes, I mean, these guys have great stories, but again, like you alluded to earlier, sometimes it's hard for people to talk about themselves or to highlight, and we forget there's a bias there. We're so close to our story that something that may resonate isn't that important to us anymore, so we don't tell it. But by developing these questions and a storyline you want told is really going to go a long way. And again, baby steps. We crawl, walk, run, right? So finding that one episode to where you're comfortable enough with the guest, or you've had time to, develop the questions and the stories you want told would be great. And always, Chief, I'm here for you. I'll help you with that. And we can get it done. And, most shows that do it effectively, it's in editing. I mean, Todd DeVoe, another Navy corpsman, him very well. Him and I worked on a narrative style story to where we did a 30-minute pre-interview. We recorded for 60 to 75 minutes. We edited out what we didn't want in the story. We rearranged questions and answers to support the story we wanted told. And it was a very, very highly polished show. Each 40 to 60-minute episode was about 18 hours worth of work between 2 people weekly. It's a monumental task. But there's ways to, cheat that clock a little bit and increase the production value in a live format. And it's hard to do live. I mean, if you watch Joe Rogan, he goes left field a lot, because that's where the story is taking him, or he's super interested in something, so he'll abandon the storyline and go with it. And that's the nature of live. And live is so authentic. It's real. It's raw. I love it over a highly polished show. And developing the host skills along the way will greatly improve it. But dude, you're still crushing it. You're doing a good job. Your numbers reflect that. And that's what it's about. Growth week after week. You're crushing it. So keep crushing.
Thanks, Brian. No, I was trying to, subconsciously make sure that I'm in the question phase of things, right? To draw out the story, not to put anybody on blast, not to do anything, but to listen to the direction they're going and really help that out. And I know I need to focus on some things, and I'm working on those. And I'm glad that you're on here to give me that thick-skinned, help and support, because it's not all about the show. It's about knowing these guys. It's about knowing each one of my guests, almost, or knowing of them to see what they're doing to support our veteran community. And the biggest part for this podcast and the whole thing that you put together way back when you told me, you're like, hey, Chief, you got all this stuff, you need to do this podcast. I never knew how important these shows can be to another veteran at another time, because this is theoretically a library of support for our veteran community. As much as I want to get better at doing what I'm doing, maybe have some sponsors someday, some sort of stuff like that, it's more important that I'm doing what I'm doing as my mission to help support our combat vet community more so, but our veteran community, our first responders, families, all the things that are necessary in between. And there's so many stories to obviously capture, one a week. And you're right, 18 hours of work on a polished deal, that's a lot of hours for one show, right? And I probably put in a good 4 or 5 hours every week between calls, between working with you on making a better show note possibility. Even with the help of AI, I'm still spending 4 or 5 hours on these show builds, and just developing a lot of the education that you're putting out there for me. And AI does really help a lot of things, as long as you know how to speak to it, give it the proper language. And you're teaching me that more and more. It's just an incredible learning process. The show itself is a great learning process. The camaraderie of bringing guests on, just some really cool stuff. It's awesome. Hey, wait, you don't have sound on. You're muted.
I want to interject and back up for a minute. We referenced a couple of times how people are hesitant to talk about themselves and the work that they're doing. And I want to highlight you, man. When I explain Chief Seibert to people, the words, this man has more compassion in his pinky than I do in my entire body, is always used. The love that he has. And I'm sure part of it is being that corpsman, being that man on the battlefield that does what he has to do to take care of his Marines. It plays a huge role in it. But the phone calls you take at all hours of the day, the lengths that you go to help a vet. I remember one time Chief saying, bro, I got to go. We were in California. I need to drive to Arizona and get a vet so I can get him to Texas. So we'll talk later. And you jumped in your truck and you drove to Arizona to pick up a vet, to get him to the airport, to get him on an airplane, to get him to Camp Hope. I mean, that's love, man. That's love for what you do, for the boys and women you support. And I really want to bring that up because it's not brought up enough. You always say, oh, I'm involved a lot. I help vets, PTSD, Warrior Build, VTRC. But that doesn't even shine a light on the hours of time that you spend away from your loved ones, away from your family, to pick a guy up that you might not even know to get him help. And that's commendable, Chief. And I love you for it. I respect the hell out of you for it. And thank God there's people like you on this planet, because honestly, it's not me. I wish I had more I wish I was more like you, brother.
Wow. Well, thanks, man. I appreciate that. I kind of glide over some of the things, right? It may look like I'm busy, but you know what? This is something I've articulated over the last couple of months. And it's weird because when we're in the military, and everybody in the military knows this, you show up to work, you have 100 things you want to do. you're only going to accomplish 10 of them, because your day is going to be sucked up by meetings, by this, by that, and all this other stuff. Well, since I've been out of the military, I've really kind of learned to combine the things that I have to do so I can pace myself into a 10 or 20% of my day theory, which means I will pack a lot of incredible stuff within that 10 to 20%. But that means the 80% of my time is kind of put aside so that I can spend with family, friends, whatever, and do what I want to do. But with the exception that if my phone rings, I'm going to take that call, I'm going to make the effort, and I'm going to spend an hour or two talking to a veteran. So a lot of veterans, if you feel like I'm too busy for you, that's not even true. You send me a text, you send me a call, and my phone is on mute. But I look at my phone so much that I'll see you calling me, but I'll get back to you very shortly. And but I appreciate Brian's, understanding. And this is the things that we don't talk about. But I have to pace myself because I will burn out. I just push myself to the limit of that. In that 10 or 20% of my day, I'm pushing myself to the limit. After that, I'm smooth cruising, and that's the way it needs to be. That's something that's kind of a thought process that I've kind of thought about after, for the last 2 months, that I kind of really dig, because there's always these puzzle pieces that I'm trying to float around in my head, and being able to articulate pace, being able to articulate certain things. And I want to say, because and I'll say it, Brian Colburn has pushed me into directions and things that I would not normally be able to do or say. It makes me a much better speaker, whatever it is. But it also makes me better to take care of veterans' needs. And I'm a realist too. There's a lot of things out there. People are just like, hey, can't we just do this, this, and this? And magically, I would say yes, but theoretically, the way when it really comes out and the process is, comes out for real, it's not like that. It's a lot harder. It's a lot more meticulous thought processes, and logistics is an incredible part, and we got to make it happen. So for these veterans, for you as a veteran, you have to pace yourself. You have to be involved in your life, and you have to be involved in all of your life, not just fixing this one piece, or hey, if I'm just not an alcoholic, everything will be great. No, when you come back home, you're going to be drinking again because the environment's jacked up. You need to improve that. You need to improve the other things. So slowly improve the small things in your life so that you can continue doing the incredible things that you want to do in living your life. And
absolutely.
And thanks for helping me live my life, Brian. Thanks for helping me, be this, as a Marine and a corpsman, we get to hang out together and we get to do some incredible things. And Brian has a lot of knowledge when it comes to podcasting. When it comes to, he's spot on. He's the best I can imagine. But I don't spend a lot of time in the podcasting world, so I really don't know what's out there, because I'm not really a podcaster. I just play one in real life every Tuesday. But I just say that all the time, but I'm really not allowed to say that anymore. Brian just talked to me about it. Hey, but Brian, any final words from you, brother?
Love you, man. Keep doing the good work, bro. Keep helping our vets.
Hey, thanks a lot, brother. I appreciate you. Hey, this is Combat Vet Vision. This is a platform where I and Jeff and any other veteran that really wants to get on here and tell their story, first responder, family member, whatever it is, business. I would love to hear your stories. If you want to get on my show, hit me up, hit Brian up, whatever you need to do. But until next time, strength and honor. Out.
The only way, and we need nothing more. The only way, together forever, that's for sure.